Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Raid Shadow Legends. And in today's video, I do want to talk about masteries. I want to talk about Minotaur farming, or in some cases, using your gems for that, and what is actually better, depending on how new of a player you are, how you can optimize, and how you can make this a little bit easier for yourself. This is a topic that I've wanted to talk about for a little while since we've been doing some new player guide videos here. And don't forget that if you do find the information in this video and other videos helpful, do click on that subscribe button. Do ring that notification bell for all things Raid Shadow Legends here on the Boilon channel. And before we get started with the rest of the video, I do want to remind people that if you haven't started an account on Raid Shadow Legends yet, then you can download the game using the QR code in the top right hand of the screen, or using the link in the description down below to get yourself a free Epic Rector draft alongside some other freebie resources which you'll use. Also, by account level 15, you will get yourself this Ugo, who is one of the best epic characters in Raid Shadow Legends. I am using them every single day on my roster, so don't delay, and they'll definitely help you out in your start. Now, if you're really that new to Raid Shadow Legends, maybe let's just start at the beginning. What are masteries? Well, you can find on especially newer characters, just to kind of show you guys here. But I will show Alice the Wanderer here that I have a fully finished out masteries. This does take some time. I have now recently, I'm about 45 days into my account, but I have actually put a lot of energy into completing a handful of characters doing this. I haven't quite, not everyone, but you can see here, especially on my top characters, it's worth getting these because it's going to make a significant difference, especially in honestly in all aspects of the game. But one of the main reasons why I did it was to improve my damage on clan boss, on Demon Lord and Chimera. But you can see that it does take some. I'm trying to find a good character. Let's take Bellower here for an example here. So you open up the masteries window, and I'm going to put the QR code down for just a minute here. And you can see that there's three different trees, right? There's the offense tree, the defense tree, and the support. This might be reminiscent of if you've played MMO games, for example, that they have like talent trees. This is basically what it is, but you can only have so many on each of your characters. You can only have a maximum of 2 trees as well. So once you're dedicated to 2 trees, that's it. The third one gets locked, and you can't add any abilities there. There's also obviously a restriction, as you can see here, that there's going to be 2 on the first one, but then about 3 per line. So you can either have 2 on one side and then 1 on the other. You can't have 3. You can't just go funnel down one mastery tree. So it does have to go down 2. You can decide how many on each side that you want, and you can kind of mix and match, which is really cool. There's tons of different abilities here depending on what kind of character you have, and honestly what kind of build that you're going for, because there's tons of different mastery builds, and I'm not here to tell you what's the best for each character. There's a lot of characters in Raid Shadow Legends, right? And so you're gonna have to the best resource that I found to consult on this, because it's been around for a while, is the Hell Hades website. There's a lot of great information on each of the characters, and dependent on what kind of build you want to build for these characters. Are you doing more PvE? Are you doing more PvP? Are you doing clan boss related activity? Are you doing campaign or Doom Tower? That kind of stuff. They have these different breakdowns depending on the character and what you're trying to do for that. So, for example, I do use Sun Wukong more on the PvP side of things, so my masteries related to that is going to be more tuned to that. Alice is also a heavy PvP character, but I've used a more general PvE build for that as well. I know some people might be like looking at my masters, and so then they're not completely like optimized, because some of these I did put in when I didn't know any better, and I just haven't spent the gems to correct that. And that's one thing that I do want to talk about. So for Kale, for example, I could have probably done this a little bit better, but if I do want to change my masteries, it does cost gems the second time around. So if you're new and you haven't touched this at all, great. So to go to Apothecary, for example, you can actually reset this for free once for every character. So do keep that in mind, that it is available there for you to do. But once you reset for free, it does cost gems afterwards. And I think that might be based on the rarity of the characters. I feel like I screwed up somewhere. Was it Rector Drath? I screwed up on somebody, and the reset was not free. I don't remember who that was. Maybe it was just Kale. I don't know if it's 150 for all characters, or if it's just if it's based on a rarity. I don't know if I have anyone else as an example. I think yeah, okay. So make sure you don't squander it though, and make sure you do kind of like think about the masters that you want. And like I said, I would consult. Hell Hades is a really good resource. And speaking of that, I do want to kind of pivot here very quickly to talk about the Minotaur and how you gain mastery. So we're going to zoom in a little bit here. So this is Hell Hades' website. I mean, Minotaur's been around for ages, right? And even this particular post was from February 2022, but it's worth mentioning anyways. So Minotaur farming is really important, but honestly, unless it's required for the Arbiter challenge, I would or the Arbiter missions, I wouldn't go hard on farming the Minotaur's Labyrinth unless you're able to do basically stage 13, 14, or 15, something like that, but as close to 15 as possible, because you're going to see how the rewards scale quite rapidly. Like if you're somewhere around here, it's just not worth it, right? Farming 12 energy for 1 to 3 red scrolls is just garbage. On an average of 2, whereas this one up here at stage 15 is an average of 9 red scrolls for 14 energy, so you're getting like 4x the kind of benefit from stage 15, even from stage 11 to 15. Like it's not even that hard. It's not even that far. But Minotaur is pretty easy by and large. It's not a difficult fight. We'll take a look at me doing a stage 15 run in a moment here, but I want to talk about what you can do, right? So there's 2 ways of getting masteries, and only 2. You can either farm the Minotaur, which is what I just talked about, or you can spend 800 gems. And this is actually something that I would recommend early on for like your first best character. You know, if you're playing through the QR code or you're downloading around this time, right? You're going to get a lot of free champions. You're going to get Rector Drath. You're going to get Ugo, but you're also going to get a free Sun Wukong. You're also going to get or I think there's a Loki available as well, but I chose Sun Wukong as your starter promo code. And then also Alice, who's ongoing still right now, right? So there's a lot of these characters that who are really good value, especially the more campaign carriers like I would do it on Alice. Spend 800 gems on there, get them unlocked right away, you know, for new characters, especially legendary characters, because this grind not only can take time, energy, and all of that. But what I do want to say is that farming Minotaur for a full set of Master Scrolls takes around 2,000 energy per champion. Now, that's going to be assuming that you're farming at stage 15, right? So I get, as far as refreshes go, I'm at 123 energy. So an easy way to math this out to see whether or not it's worth your cores or how much you lose. Basically, the maximum energy is higher at a higher account levels. This is going to be lower at lower account levels. And why this matters actually is because when you buy a energy refresh, you're spending 40 gems to max out your energy. And depending on what your account level is, you're going to get either more or you're going to get less. So just for the purposes of this, we're going to use my energy, right? So 2,000 divided by 123, which is the maximum refresh, means that I'd have to do 16 and a quarter refreshes. Now it's 40 gems per refresh. It's going to cost me about 650 gems if I were to just buy all of my energy through gems, right? So I am saving it versus the 800, but 150 is not a lot. And it's it's saving you the time. If you're someone who's got a lot of time, or you have tons of multi battles and you can just sit it overnight doing a farm for like 4 hours or whatever, 5 hours, great. Then I guess that's probably better for you, and you'll save a little bit of energy. But if you don't, honestly, it's not that big of a difference to just do this, spend the 800, spend a little bit more, and just get it done immediately. Now, there is one thing that I'll talk about that in a second here, but if you're lower energy than like this, say you're like account level 20, right? So it could be about 30 less than this. So let's just say, for sake of argument, 90, right? So 2,000 divided by an energy cap of 90, that at that point, right, you're looking at more than 800 gems. So there's a point at which, based on your account level, it actually does make sense to just spend the 800 gems to get all of the scrolls. It's done. You don't have to do anything. Well, you have to get them to rank 6, right, to 6-star in order to get the final mastery. But it's actually cheaper until you get to a higher account level where you can farm it more efficiently. So do keep that in mind as well. But there is one thing that I do want to point out when it comes to Minotaur farming in general, and this is a trap that I fell into. Not a trap necessarily, but something to avoid, I guess, if you're thinking of spending gems on your Minotaur scroll. So you can see here, this is my Island, right? And I have 2 rows already unlocked. This is not a big deal, but if you do get to the point where you're like in the 4th row, like somewhere down here, at that point, and this is one thing that maybe they can improve upon. I don't know if they're going to change this in the future. But the main issue is that it's always going to be 800 gems for you to max the character out. Like you don't get a partial refund. So if you're like halfway done the tree, there's no point in doing spending the 800 gems. If you're going to spend the 800 gems to max out the mastery scrolls, do that basically from the beginning because that's going to make the most sense. Otherwise, you kind of lose value the more that you've already farmed on that character. You know, that 800 value that gems is not, might only be worth say 600, and therefore you're paying more gems than what you should because you've already done some runs on your character. So when I had my first character Kale, and when I thought about spending the 800 gems, I was already like down here, and I was like, you know what, there's no point, right? Because you get trapped. And so don't blow your 800 gems on a character you're halfway done because you're not going to get any refund at all. If you are going to do it, make sure you do it basically from the start, that you're going to spend 800 gems from on a new character. Let's say, maybe you pull a really nice legendary and you don't want to go through the farming hassle on that, then that would be the time to spend the 800 energy there. Obviously, when you get to higher account levels, I actually don't know when this stops. Let me know in the comments down below if you know at what account level does the energy stop climbing. But the more energy you have, the cheaper it's going to be from the gem perspective, I suppose, on the refreshes that you're going to save. It just takes time, right? Multi battles time, that kind of thing. If you have the time to do that, great. For the second part of the video here, I do kind of want to do a little run here of Minotaur. It doesn't take me that long, and honestly, I do feel that Minotaur is not hard to climb. I think I was able to do stage 15 by, I want to say 3 weeks. I maybe I could have done it earlier and I didn't try. But probably by about 3 weeks in, 3 to 4 weeks in, depending on your roster, I think you could probably get to stage 15. And that would be the most optimal choice to do that. So I would not really farm Minotaur before this point, because again, we talked about the scrolls and how the difference is, right? An average of, let's just take stage 11, right? That's going to be an average of 15 scrolls on the gray scrolls. Up here, it's going to be way more. And then you got 4 to 7, it's like an average of 5 green scrolls, but it's like an average of like 13. So you're getting like 2.5 to 3x the amount of scrolls on stage 15 than you are on even like stage 11. So it's a pretty crazy difference. Now, what's really important is, especially later on, when you do have maxed out scroll characters, the best way to farm this is to have 4 characters who you've already maxed out and a 5th character who is not. That way I can farm using, in this case, I think the fastest characters that are going to get me a clear time basically are going to be these 4 characters here. And then I'm going to put in Islan because I do want to get more scrolls for him, and I haven't done so yet. And so I'm going to run this with Alice in the lead with my attack aura, and I'm basically maxing out my damage, or I'm trying to, being able to clear this as fast as possible. I'm surprised Alice didn't one-shot that. And so I'm running through this here, as you can see here. And they're void enemies, which is good. It's neutral, so it's not going to be that difficult for you to clear either, depending on what characters that you're using. My entire team is blue magic. I didn't even notice that. And Minotaur's not very hard. He's literally got like 2 mechanics. He puts a hex in AoE attack, and it puts a hex debuff. It's not even really that big of a deal here. And then he does a couple of swings, which also does extra damage against hex debuff. So the important thing here is that you have support characters that can keep you alive, and you have at least one healer. Maybe someone who puts up like defensive buffs, something like that. But he's going to die before this buff drops off. This improves his damage a little bit here. But once he takes 3 turns, he takes like double damage. And so he's actually, if you can survive 3 turns of his AoE, which is not that hard to do, then you should be able to clear him no problem. Honestly, it's just, yeah, it's not that hard. Like, you can use this with all of the characters that that you would get through the QR code, right? Alice, which you get for free, Kale, your starter character, Ugo, Rector Drath, like Wukong, all of those characters, you can easily clear Minotaur as long as you have your characters leveled up and whatnot. It's very easy to do, but this stuff makes a significant difference towards your overall impact in your game. Kid you not. When I maxed out my masteries and I did clan boss, and I did demon lord, I was able to bump up my damage probably by, I want to say, about double. Anywhere from 50 to 100% extra damage just by doing the masteries on my characters. So for hard mode right now, I'm doing about like 42 million on this team above here. Now, Geomancer really does help, but I'm just telling you that even having the masteries such as like Giant Slayer on, which is the final one on the attack one for Apothecary and Alice, and then I had War Master for Kale, I'm telling you that my damage bumped up significantly. So they make a very large impact on your damage in your game. You're going to notice it the most in Demon Lord, where battles take a long time, or you're autoing for a little while. But nonetheless, masteries make a significant impact on your character. It's just that I wouldn't farm it off the Minotaur's Labyrinth until you're able to clear that last level. And don't forget, if you haven't started playing Raid Shadow Legends yet, then make sure that you download using the QR code in the top right hand of the screen to get yourself a free Epic Rector Drath. Also, by account level 15, you will get yourself a free Ugo as well, one of the best epics in the game. Also, don't forget that you can use the promo code Monkey King to get yourself a free legendary Sun Wukong. We're not done yet. Also, there is Alice the Wanderer for a free 7-day login calendar that you'll get at the end of that. So 2 free legendary champions, 2 free epic champions. This is the best time to start Raid. So otherwise, or you can just spend the 800 gems, right? Which sounds like a lot, but if you're doing your dailies and stuff every single day, also another good thing is that if you want to spend a little bit, of course, there is the daily gem calendar. It's $10 US, I believe, and you can get this, and you can kind of start hoarding this, and you could probably, honestly, between that and your daily income of gems, you could probably get a full book of masteries for a character like once a week, honestly, if you're not using your gems on energy refreshes. So, there's alternatives to do that as well. If you want to skip the Minotaur, and especially if you're a lower level account, I would probably recommend just using the 800 gems on a really good character. So that's going to be the end of this video, everyone. I hope that it was helpful, and I'll see you guys on the next one. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you'll be greatly helping out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.